forward. Clippers, an unbelievable season. The Warriors finally put the finishing touches. Kevin Durant put finishing touches on any conversation for him needing to remind you that he is Kevin Durant and then some. Welcome inside our studios here in Atlanta. It is Game Time Live. Hear from coaches and players, break down all things in this series, look ahead, Rockets, Warriors, and send off the Clippers on their season as well. Casey Stern, Smitty, Billy King here as well. Smitty, look, Kevin Durant, for all the conversation that goes on, he's the true unicorn. He's an unbelievable player, right? He is the unicorn. But what you do in the playoffs, what separates you, we've already seen a Finals MVP. What about in the last three games culminated with this one and the performance tonight?
You know, if they win the last one, he had 45 points. So they lose that one. No one really talked about that. Then he comes out in that first quarter, in that first half. You talking about locked in. I had never seen somebody. He's played well before. He's had more points. But the way he was knocking down shots, you talking about contested shot after contested shot. It was remarkable because Clay wasn't going well and Steph wasn't going well. But I will say their defense was locked in that first half.
Yeah, and defense was a huge factor. Look, the confidence they showed, I saw on Twitter, Kareth Burke, who does the Warrior games on the sideline, had asked him at halftime, do you feel like at this point you could just score at will? He looked at her, looked at the camera and said, yeah, and walked away. I mean, we're talking about a dude who is on one in terms of confidence, and that's a scary thought for anybody moving forward, because is this maybe as confident and locked in and aggressive offensively as we've ever seen KD?
Well, he was locked in offensively in the sense he set the tone for them, and what I liked about it, even when he got it going, they started trying to double him. He made some great passes to open the floor for them. So to me, he was hitting big shots, but then also he made some nice, easy passes to get other guys easy looks. It was just a performance that we were marveling at. What I liked about it too was his defense. With about 7 minutes and 30 in the fourth quarter, he had a block when they had a chance to cut it, I think, to under 13. And to me, that was really set the tone. Like, we're not letting you make that run, not letting you come back in this game. And so it was just a performance for a guy to do that with the former two-time MVP Steph Curry on the court. Klay Thompson had big games. He was a difference maker tonight, and he separated himself from all of them.
Yeah, look, Steph was 8 of 14, ended up shooting the ball decently well, 2 of 5 from 3. And we'll talk about, we'll hear from him on whether there's an ankle issue or not. He came back in the game and played, but even before that, he wasn't aggressive. Clay was terrific defensively tonight, but not aggressive offensively like we saw with the 27-point first half earlier in the series. But KD had some help, and Draymond Green, look, sans the technical, it's almost unfortunate because if you don't have that one situation to pinpoint, this is the kind of game, right, that you blueprint when you look at people who say he's overrated, what he can do, the way he impacted this game.
Well, look at all big games and look at his numbers. And guess what, Casey and Billy, you know this. The technicals goes with the triple-double.
Right.
It's not Draymond Green if
right.
he doesn't have the chance to talk about the technical because he's that emotional. He plays to win. Big games, closeout games, it usually ends up with these type of numbers. He always makes these defensive plays. He plays to win, and he comes up, doesn't shoot the ball well at times in the regular season and in the playoffs, but when they need him, he'll make the threes, he'll make the plays, and you'll look down and say, wow, he had a triple-double and a technical foul. You got to add that as well.
Right, because you almost think of like in Teen Wolf where they said, you want the wolf. If you want the wolf, you got everything that comes along with it, right?
Dennis Rodman, 25 rebounds and a technical foul.
Yeah, right, exactly. When you sit there and you look at their desire and their effort, on the defensive end, tonight was, even in the games they won, the first game in this series, Billy, that those points, those extra second chances, those loose balls, those blocks, almost all of them seemed to go to Golden State.
They came, and I think it started with Iguodala on his defense with Lou Williams. He made it really, really tough for Lou, and when Lou beat him, the help was coming. But as we talked about earlier pregame, there wasn't the straight drives. The drives had to be banana peels to get to the basket, and so the straight drives weren't there, so that they didn't get open looks. And then also they got a lot of deflections. They had their hands up. It was a defense that everybody was locked in, and they didn't give straight drives, so they made it very, very difficult for the Clippers to score points tonight.
You want to talk about how difficult they made it? When was the last time in a Clipper game, and I mean, Justin Kimbrell, go to work, sir, the entire season, I'd like to know how many times they got outscored in the bench, because I'm doing the math, 18-23, they got 31 points on the bench. On the other side, 28. So they outscored them 31-28. That's as close as you see. It was 59-17 the last game. Lou Williams was 3 of 21 from the floor. And people might, and we were talking about this, they may not have seen the game. Lou had a bad game, just couldn't come through. They had like 4 dudes on Lou Will.
Yes.
He had nowhere to go. And then there were some turnovers because he's trying to find a way to find a roller to the basket and was really kind of, I thought, crossed up, right, Smitty?
Well, it was a conscious effort to make Lou take tough shots. He's going to see 3 or 4 bodies, and he's going to have long guys on him. They were going to make Lou beat them with the pass and making the hockey pass or doing other things. He wasn't going to come out and score unless he just got extremely hot. We talked about Lou and also Montrezl Harrell, what they were scoring versus on the road versus at home. They were 13 and 14 on the road, average, and now they were 8 and 10 in this game. So the Warriors make sure they locked in defensively and took those guys out of the game.
Yeah, look, we're going to talk about it, and we'll get into both sides. But the Clipper, you want to talk about a sense of pride. And I think you're going to probably hear this from Doc. Look, Patrick Beverley, 11 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Landry Shamet, who you could argue were the 2 best players on the team tonight. I would argue that. Defensively, Shamet, you're trying to do everything he could do with Curry. As a guy who knows what it's like to grow in this league, what does it say about these kids, just how tough they seem to be in this series?
Well, Billy had the job of looking and evaluating players, and the one thing would jump out to me, if I was working for Billy, I'd say, Billy, they compete.
They did.
They compete. They play to win. They play hard with their skill set, and that's what you love. Young guys will come out and give you that effort. Yes, there are times they made some plays that you say, wow, they're young, but they're supposed to. They came out, and especially Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the offensive end. Both those guys, nothing you can say, but you look forward to the future, looking forward to the offseason and starting year 2.
They're playing the defending champions, 2-time defending champions, and they went out after them like they didn't respect them. And you want that from guys, not be afraid. And you talked about at the beginning, this is when guys' names are made.
Yes.
These kids in the Clippers, their names were made
Oh,
in the
man, they
playoffs.
weren't afraid, Billy,
Yeah.
right?
What they did in this playoff series, people now know who they are. And so they should be proud of the effort they put into. I just think they ran into a team in Golden State that's on a mission. And this is really, it was almost like the Golden State was playing Houston in the first game of the next set, because they came out prepared, focused, and it was almost like, this is what we got to do when we play Houston. I thought during this series earlier, they took them for granted. They thought they were just going to their AC, they're going to fold. And I think Doc and the Clippers got to be very proud, because this group came and gave their fans and gave the nation something really to watch.
I remember in Summer League, Doc sat down with us for a half, and he was glowing about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You want to know why? How about rookies? 22 points, 6 assists, 5 boards, 0 turnovers.
That's what I love about it.
Zero turnovers.
I mean, he's so calm. He's so collective. You can't speed him up. He understands angles. He knows how to play, and he knows how to score without hunting shots and hunting plays. You don't see 45 dribbles. You don't see him playing without. He plays within the offense. He lets the offense come to him, and he knows to pick his spots. I thought he was fantastic. His floor game and the way he thought the game and played through the game under pressure situation. This is a closing game at home. He stepped up.
Yeah, you know, from a standpoint, when you look at Klay Thompson, if you're not scoring, you have to impact the game in other ways, right? When you look at all defensive performers, and for whatever reason, this dude never gets the credit. I don't understand it.
Me either.
That I think that he deserves. But that was the kind of way he played defensively. And there was a play in the fourth quarter when they were making that run where I think it was Lou goes down the lane, and he's taking the ball, literally taking it from him, going the other way. The strips. He was brilliant tonight defensively.
Yeah, and people will go and look at the stats and say, wow, Klay didn't play well. Klay played well. Played hard. He played to win. His shot wasn't there, but he still had an impact on his game, and you can see he was in it. And it was about making plays to win. And if they needed a big shot, the way he was locked in, he would hit that shot, my opinion.
Yeah, and I think he knew his job tonight. The way Durant was going is, I'm going to play defense. Yes. I'm going to give it on that end because we've got offense. And I think Steph got some shots late, but I think they all knew, like, we've got our offense. Now let's make sure we play defense.
You know, let's go back to Durant for a second, because it's interesting how, and this is, look, we go with the wind in terms of rhetoric, I like to say, because it's like you forget what we talked about a month ago because everything changes, right? So is Durant the best player in the game? Remember all that? Is Durant, is he better than LeBron? All of that. Then James or Giannis, right, for MVP. And we kind of then it was like, well, where's Kevin Durant going to go more than how great he is? This was a statement, right, that he's a guy who we should still look at and say, look, and I love Giannis, and I love Harden. But if you don't think that this guy is as good as anybody, if not better than anybody in the league, you weren't watching what we just saw during the course of this game.
It's going to be hard for any of those guys with the Warriors to really win MVP. They just won't have the stats. Yeah. I mean, when you divide up the points between him, Clay, and Steph and all the others, and they had Cousins, he's not going to have the stats. But there's always two seasons. Billy knows this. There's regular season MVPs, and then there's big-time MVPs in the playoffs, and he's shown you that over the course of his career, what he can do in playoffs. And this entire series, these last two games were phenomenal, but he started off this series the exact same way. Had one game he didn't have, a Kevin Durant game, but overall, watch his numbers and look at the series. They were phenomenal.
Well, our own Kristen Ledlow caught up with KD after a performance that some put up 38 in the first half. I think Chuck paid him to not get that extra point, right? He was one short of him, so don't worry.
No, I think he got Chuck.
Did he get Chuck?
He didn't get sleepy.
He didn't get sleepy.
Oh, he didn't get sleepy.
Yeah, he tied Chuck.
He didn't get
39 was sleepy.
Yeah, no, Chuck's been sleepy plenty of times in here. Here's Kristen with KD after the win.
Kevin,
we've won 3 of the last 4 titles. We've been in so many situations. Actually, we've been in worse situations than this. We're actually in pretty good shape in this series. Up 3-2, probably where you want to be in any series. We would have loved to have finished it off, but we didn't do it. So now you got to just take stock and reevaluate and go, all right, it's 3-2. We're in the lead. We got to crack at it tonight. Let's go get it done.
I mean, let's be real. Those guys, it was a perfect storm for the Clippers last game. We came out with energy to start. I mean, I wouldn't say, but more so just a little bit more relaxed than we were the 2 games before. And they made shots to start the game. When you give a team like this, you open the door for them to, drives to the rim, offensive rebounds, kick out threes. They're already playing loose and free. That just gives them more confidence. So we just got to do a better job starting off the games or doing the little things.
It should be a crazy atmosphere as we get a chance to head out to Staples for a Game 6. And I'm saying this out loud. We were just talking about this, Kristen, off the air. It's what a crazy scenario where we are where we are. So, Kristen, though, how are we where we are? I mean, the Clippers seem to be the only group, right, who's not surprised. And that tells us, right, a lot of why we're here in this situation.
I asked that exact question to Patrick Beverley after that Game 5 win. I said, despite what this matchup may look like on paper, why is this team still in this series? He said, we play hard, we play the right way, we're everything that a team needs to be. We're everything you would want on a team. We play for each other, and we play until the final buzzer. And that is the continuing theme that I've heard from these Clippers over and over throughout the entirety of this series, starting with Doc Rivers and going all the way through their bench, who, by the way, has outscored the Warriors doubly in this series and in that last game when they were able to win. But it's that they play from start to finish. They play through the final buzzer. And it's not like one of those things where you sit down with a player and, they say, well, yeah, we can play with the best in the world, but it's one of those rehearsed lines, and he may not actually believe it. These guys legitimately believe that they are as good as the defending champion Warriors seeking a three-peat, and they legitimately believe that they're going to win this series.
Well, look, I would say this for those who are waiting till Sunday for Game of Thrones. Patrick Beverley would take on the Mountain without any weapons. So, right? I mean, I don't think any of us would be surprised. Fair?
He would.
Let me ask you about the Golden State side, because I was talking about this before listening to Clay talk about the 30-point win that they need tonight or should have. When they left that game 4, they said, we're going home and we're going to make sure we fix everything that we did wrong, give the fans what they deserve. I think we all thought that meant bad news. How have the Warriors reacted as they look at film in their own performance in Game 5 to get here?
Well, you saw a little bit of that sound from this morning as we caught up with some of those guys from shoot-around. One of the things that Steve Kerr started with was that this is my responsibility as the head coach of this team. When we're up 3-1, it's my responsibility to make sure that we're prepared, and we weren't. But then he also addressed guys like Klay Thompson, like Steph Curry, like Kevin Durant, who also addressed the media and who took the responsibility themselves. And he said, this is a collaborative effort. So when we lose, we all lose as a group. When we win, we all win as a group. Kevin Durant, as you saw in that sound, we had to, I'm guessing, go into some closet and find Kevin Garnett's cuss button. But he said we started with really poor energy. And he said it was the perfect storm for the Clippers. But every area that he pointed out was an area that the Clippers were able to take advantage. And like he said, because of those open drives to the basket, offensive rebounds, kick out threes, the Clippers just continued gaining confidence and playing a team that already didn't lack confidence puts you in a real tough position in the final minutes of a fourth quarter.
Kristen, I got to ask you this question. I'm just looking at the numbers. Lou Williams, 14 points at home, shooting 29%, 31 on the road. Same thing with Montrezl Harrell, 13 points but 25 at home. Gallinari not playing at home. As Doc Rivers or any of these three players, I guess, talk to you about what are they doing wrong at home, why they're not making shots, and we're still here a Game 6 and they have a chance to take it to a Game 7.
Well, one of the things that Patrick Beverley said when I did ask him about the adjustments that had to be made at Staples as opposed to what was working so well at Oracle is they actually believed that they should have won their last game at Staples. They believed it was less about what the Warriors did in the final minutes and what they didn't do. So they're not as concerned with adjustments to be made on their home floor. They're primarily concerned with protecting home floor. They believe if they can get this to a Game 7, then anything could happen at this point.
You know, it almost is kind of sounds crazy to ask this, but we talk about the confidence level, right? And we're talking about one team, and it's not the team that's trying to win yet another championship. Is there a sense of, I don't know, questions necessarily, certainly not about their talent, Kristen, but how together do you see this group when you sit there and you kind of get close and get a chance to hear how they feel going into this Game 6?
Having had the opportunity to be behind the scenes with both of these teams, I don't think there's a question as to which team is playing better together, as to which team is more confident in this series. But also, games are often determined by who's statistically better. So I do think that there's a realistic opportunity for the Warriors because of the raw talent that they have on that roster, even if they're lacking in confidence or lacking in focus the way that Kevin Durant admitted that they were in the last game, at least in the opening minutes of the last game. They still have a very realistic opportunity to win not only this series but to close it out tonight. Whereas the Clippers, having been behind the scenes with them, it's not that they believe necessarily that they have the opportunity to take down the defending champions. It's more so that they approach every opportunity as an opportunity to win. And because they have that level of confidence, they're taking advantage in all of the areas where the Warriors perhaps at this point are not. And that's why we've seen this series tilt in their favor twice.
Yeah, look, we can't wait for this one. It's going to be interesting to see right from jump how the Warriors come out, and I'll let you know about the date of Pat Bev against the Mountain, and we'll need you sidelined for that.
Yeah. Is that tomorrow? Klay Thompson, by the way, did guarantee a 30-point win.
Yes.
So,
okay. Fair enough. We'll see. Thank you. Look, Chris Ludlow is going to get a chance to be part of an atmosphere we all wish that we were at, because that is going to be crazy. And don't think hunger is just players. Those fans in that building, they've been waiting a long time for a moment like this, as the song says. More coming up to tip.